Does anyone else remember when M. Night Shyamalan was supposed to direct this movie? I was following it, like I was legitimately interested in this movie, and then when he stopped, I was like, oh, who cares? And then when Ang Lee picked it up, I was like, oh. Life of Pi is an adaptation of a book that's very famous, and a lot of people didn't think that a book like this could be adapted. It's basically the story about a kid who grows up in India that eventually gets shipwrecked with just himself and a tiger on a boat. And it's basically his adventure of how he tries to survive without getting eaten by sharks, without dying of starvation, and without getting eaten by the tiger, and also forming a bond with the animal as well. And it's kind of like Castaway without the island. And although there is a sense of realism to what takes place in the film, like the actual events, it feels kind of like a fantasy as well. This movie is directed by Ang Lee, and it's a visual masterpiece. I can tell you that right off the bat. It's a completely seamless blend of CGI and in-camera stunt work. It's really astounding. This movie has some incredible visuals, and there were many times in this movie where I actually got goosebumps, like Shiver inducing visuals. Really stunning stuff. The 3D is eye-popping. Like, there is a legitimate use of 3D in this movie. Like, there's even a scene that was released unfortunately beforehand. It was one of the best scenes in the movie, and I wish I hadn't have seen it, where these fish that are like flying are jumping around, and they added black bars to the top and the bottom of the screen all of a sudden, and they had like the fish jump out around the bars and everything, and it made it look like they were really jumping out of the frame. It was really interesting. There was really good use of 3D in this movie. And before I get into anything else, I should just say, if you're actually going to see this movie, I would suggest, this is rare for me to say, to actually see it in 3D. I usually don't make that kind of suggestion. I usually say, oh, whatever, it's 2D, who cares? This movie is a 3D experience for sure. Let's get a little bit more in depth about this movie. See, the first half hour or so of this movie is a lot of character development. You don't really get to the meat of the film until 30 to maybe even 40 minutes into the movie is when you really starts to pick up. And at first I was like, I really hope this goes a little faster, because there's a lot of development with him as a kid, you know, and you meet girls that he likes and you learn about his family and everything. And it wasn't until the shipwreck actually happens that I realized the true significance of that opening, because although it did drag a little bit, and I must admit that, it had much more of an impact when he is actually marooned on this ship, because I was like, wow, yes, I actually understood him more as a character. The character development helped. I think maybe they could have brought back a little less and not had that opening be so long and gotten to the meat a little bit faster, but it definitely added more to his character. The shipwreck sequence was breathtaking. And see, the ocean kind of creeps me out. Like, I've always had a fear of it, you know, all the creatures in it and getting stranded in the ocean. It's always been a fear of mine, and so there were a lot of times in this movie where I just like went like, ugh, and like the hair stood up on the back of my neck. The main actor of this film, I cannot pronounce his name, he did an excellent job in this movie. He worked so well with a CGI tiger, which was also mind-blowingly well animated. Like, it was just, that is a thing. That's a creature right there, and it's real. Yes, I mean, there's part of you that knows it's CGI. It looks so fantastic, and I can't give enough props to the people who did the special effects for this movie. They're beautiful. I do have a few issues with the film, and largely they're script-based. It seemed like the first half hour, 40 minutes did drag a little bit, even though it was building up his character. It does the thing where, like, you hear from him as an adult, and he's telling somebody a story, and then you see the story. I've seen that so many times in movies, and I was like, could you maybe, I don't know, it just seemed like it could have been done a different way. Something about those scenes where he was talking to the writer who's thinking about writing about this story and telling him his life story and everything, something about it just seemed a little fake. But overall, Life of Pi is a really striking visual film, and that's really what this movie is. It's a visual experience. On that level, it succeeds a lot. Like, it's just like, wow. Like, there are shots in this movie where I was just sitting there like, that's astounding. Like, just truly beautiful imagery, a good performance, amazing CGI, really actually a very original movie. I mean, there really is no other movie where a kid's stranded on a boat with a tiger and tries to tame it. I mean, it just, you know, you don't see that. If you're a fan of the book, I think you'll appreciate this movie. I did have a few issues with the script, and so I'm going to give the film a B+. However, I think you should definitely check it out at some point. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, if you like this, then you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.